G'day Eagles fans and welcome to another instalment of the Inside Swoop, proudly presented by Jim Beam. Will Schofield, welcome. That was always going to be a tough uphill climb, and they gave it a good crack, but mate, they had something like 850 games experience lost through injuries.
Yes.
Good luck to you, because Melbourne are flying.
Yeah, Melbourne, I said this before the game, Melbourne top two sides in the competition, and West Coast are towards the bottom at the moment, the way they're playing, unfortunately. But that's just the fact. So, I mean, it was really interesting to see how the players came out and went about it in that first half. I think coding and reviewing that game, they would have looked at it in two halves. You know, this first half, this is the brand, this is how we want to go about it, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to stand for. And then the second half, this is not what we want to stand for. We want to be more consistent, we want to show more effort. And to be a good side, you have to do that. And Melbourne have been doing it for a long time, but that's going to take some time by the looks of things.
Were you at the ground? You weren't working?
I was working 6 PRs on radio.
What were you noticing in terms of West Coast ball movement or their forward half attacking? Was it the pressure that Melbourne was putting on? Was it skill errors? How'd you see it?
The first half?
Yeah.
Mate, the first half was outstanding, and it was based off the pressure that West Coast put on Melbourne. So I was calling it in the game. I kept calling up the chimney handballs. There was unbelievable pressure put on by West Coast, which forced Melbourne into errors, and it enabled backs to intercept mark. It enabled forwards to connect better because you're suddenly turning the footy over up the ground more. So that first half is the blueprint.
One bloke that's on an absolute tear at the moment is Tim Kelly. So he's had his third straight game of over 30 touches. He's ended up having double the amount of metres gained from anyone else on the ground. He's finished third in the John Worsfold medal. I'm willing to say he's going to go a couple better this year. How do you see his start of the season sort of shaping?
He'd certainly be leading the best and fairest at the moment. He's been outstanding. And look, I know it's difficult on a club show to talk about it, but the club has been criticised for the Tim Kelly trade, right? You hear that in social media a lot. That's fine because that's on the club. That's a decision the club's made, and they've tried to improve the side after 2018. But that's not on Tim Kelly. He's come to this footy club. As far as I learnt playing alongside him and what I've seen after I've left the footy club, he wants to be a good player, and he's showing exactly what he's doing this year. But last year was outstanding as well. He's third in the best and fairest. So, look, first year you come to the club, I think it's difficult. He improved the following, and the following years after that, he's been an outstanding midfielder for the footy club. So I think, well done, Tim Kelly, standing right up.
Well, some of the players that he's joining in the midfield at the moment, you just saw Gaff and centre bounce playing more on ball. Then you've got the likes of Jinby coming through, Hewitt's getting time in there. Luke Edwards, I'm assuming, will get some time. He's really carrying a very young core, but he's leading the way expertly.
Yeah, I mean, he's come into a midfield that probably on paper looked different to what he's actually played with. Elliot Yeo hasn't played a lot of footy. Luke Shuey's been injured a little bit. Jack Redden walks away from the football club, retires, I should say. So, you know, all of those guys move on, and they're that midfield group that he's coming into. So, look, I've got nothing but respect and love for what Tim Kelly's been able to do for the footy club. It's not all rosy if we move on from Tim Kelly though, because you don't win the football game, West Coast. So I spoke to Adam Simpson on Monday about that. There's still a lot of areas that they need to improve, and you know, will there be a free pass because of the injuries? I hope not. I think the pressure still needs to be on the footy club. There still needs to be striving for success and wanting to win games of football, and I hope there's a good balance of pressure as well as the kids developing.
Yeah, 60-plus point defeat, the biggest since 2002 against the Demons. First-year player Noel Long sort of spoke to us on Coast to Coast about what it was like sort of coming up against some of the best in the competition.
It's sort of one of the moments that you're watching Clayton Oliver dominate the AFL for the past 3 years. You're watching Chris Machaka do what he's done, and then you're out there playing against him, and it's a bit of a not of a wake up call, but it's a good guideline of where sort of you got to get to mix it with the big boys, I guess, and they've got a lot of them. So it was a good benchmark, I think, to have to yourself early in your career to aim to get toward.
Do you sort of remember that, seeing sort of the stars, as a bit of a fanboy teenager, and then getting out there and being like, whoa, these dudes are next level?
Well, the trouble was, yes, I do. And so, I remember playing on Matty Lloyd in my first or second year, and it was just like, this guy's a man, I'm not. And Matty Lloyd, the guy used to throw the grass in the air, and you're sort of playing on him, and he getting fended off and thrown to the ground by him. But the trouble is, for me, I was still looking at players in my 6th, 7th, 8th year. I remember playing on Buddy, oh God, this is Buddy now, So look, I don't think that feeling ever goes away, but that's what's so cool about it. I mean, from all reports, Noah Long, great kid, applying himself very well around the footy club, but that rawness and that, the fanboy stuff, I think that's great. I was literally doing that for most of my career.
Doesn't shock me. Tremendous to see the back-to-back club champion, one of the comp's best when he's firing. Elliot Yeo, he's returned to the field. Got subbed out at three-quarter time, was always going to be a part of the plan to manage his minutes. Simo's put him behind the ball where he's played before, justifiably so as well. Actually had a great explanation for it as well. Let's have a listen.
How did Elliot go pull up today?
Good. Yeah, we always planned, if we had no injuries to get him through 70, 80 minutes, and I think he was around that mark. So, yeah, he got through, and we made a decision at three-quarter time to pull him, and yeah, he did what he needed to do.
He was obviously undersized physically, but performed really quite well against guys that were...
Yeah, I thought he was good. Yeah, down back, and he'll get better. Is the way I think we'll look at that game.
And that's sort of the plan for him moving forward?
At stages, yeah. We could have used him on ball at stages, but we held. Probably some of the lessons from last year, just throwing them straight back in the midfield where the game's going, and the transition piece is so hard. So he'll build his match fitness hopefully in the next few weeks, and then we've got options.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one coming off soft tissues like that, like the actual running profiles that you have as a midfielder or as a backman. So as a backman, it's actually higher end speed and it's quicker efforts, but they're more controlled, and you can, because the ball's coming at you and the game's at you and in front of you, you can a little bit dictate what you're doing. Whereas in the midfield, it's left, right, it's in, out, it's jump in a pack, jump up. It's very much a grind, and just that constant grind coming off a calf or whatever he had. I think they would have opted for that. But also, that's great, and you want to look after the soft tissue. But I think he looked good as a backman. Don't worry about his soft tissue injuries.
Looks good everywhere.
Yeah, he does. But I really like him as a backman. He looks different, right? Like in the midfield, he's that bull, he's tackling, he's throwing his weight around. But as a backman, he comes to the game, he runs, he takes the game on, he adds something. I liked it.
He's had 27 matches since 2020. It's his 13th season. He's 29 now. Is there any thought process of, like, if you play him in defence for the rest of his time, does that extend his career at all in terms of West Coast wanting him to be part of the next wave of success?
Yeah, it might do, yeah. I mean, he's still got a lot to offer in the midfield as well, though. Like you said, he's a two-time best and fairest winner, one of those in a premiership year, and he's done that in the midfield. So, I think as much as I just love backman beyond belief,
oh, really?
Unfortunately, the game's won and lost in the midfield. Right. So if you want to win games of footy, Elliot Yeo's probably the guy to have in there, but he certainly adds value as a backman.
I want to show you some vision here. Brady Hoff came back into the side for his first game of 2023. Have a look at this. So this is a couple of minutes into the game. So this smother here, not a great camera angle, but lunging smother, bang, great defending there. Knew you'd be up and about.
Incredible.
This is literally the next play. Have a look at him here, going back with the flight. Spargo almost puts him into next year. That could be the end of his day, and maybe a couple of weeks after that for both players. Thoughts on the vision before I throw some Brady Hoff questions at you?
Those sorts of actions gets highlighted in team meetings. So when you come off a game like that and you lose by 10 goals, yes, you go through the system and the structure and players, but they don't show guys kicking goals in the team meeting. Simo doesn't sit down and go, oh, this is Oscar Allen kicking 3 goals, right? They show efforts like that, and that sets the scene for the rest of the group. So I remember I saw that, called it, outstanding. Smothers a dying art in the game somehow, and Hoffy obviously hasn't been paying attention to that because that was great, and then the courage to go back with it, that's scene setting.
Best emerging talent last year for a club that played a truckload of youngsters. I know Cole's returned. Are you surprised it took till round 4 and a truckload of injuries to see him back in the Eagles side?
Yeah, I am surprised. Am I allowed to say that? Yeah, of course I am. I rated him last year, and I'm a big eye test guy, and it's probably been to the detriment a little bit. Sometimes I make my decision up pretty quickly on guys. But at the moment I saw him, the way he runs, the way that he positions his body, he's clean, he looks hard. Without being this massive guy, he looks hard, not strong, hard. And I just, I have been surprised he hasn't been in the team. And, these injuries, that's what I spoke about last week, the opportunity that comes off the back of those is for guys like Hoffy and others that have come into the side to take that opportunity. So it's going to be up to him. That's not up to the club. That's not up to the support. That's not up to media, his family, anyone. That's up to him if he wants to take that, and he's got it now. So I hope to see him stay in the side.
Samo Petrescu-Seton had a new look out there, which I know you're a fan of. He's rocked the long sleeve. Haven't seen one since Gaffey back in 2015 in the Irish series.
Right, but that doesn't count.
Probably not.
Absolutely not.
What are your thoughts? Would you have worn one back in the day? And do you think we'll see more of it in this season at least?
Right, we probably should have led the show with this because this is a very, very moment and thing that's close to my heart, right? So for most of my career, I wanted to wear long sleeve jumpers.
Why? We're 40 degrees here in Perth.
That's fine, mate. I like wearing long sleeve jumpers. That's why. Like, why do you cut your hair the way?
You reckon it looks better?
I don't know, mate. I'm not going to ask you about. No, I like wearing long sleeve jumpers.
Okay.
It's not. I just like them.
Right.
I used to train in them, but we never had the right ones for the sponsors. So I always used to have to wear another jumper over the top. They didn't exist. You could not wear them when I was at the football club, there was not one opportunity to wear a long sleeve jumper. This year, clearly, there is. And I'm excited about it. I'm all for it.
Okay, there's no jealousy.
There's a Tasmanian game coming up.
Yeah, yes, I've heard. Oscar Allen dropped in the Coast to Coast podcast that he might just put a little order in for the Tassie trip. And
well, you can't just order in the middle of the year. I've heard that they've put their orders in and that they've been taken. As the guys who said yes, they're there.
Yeah.
And if you didn't say yes...
But he's eyed off Tassie. He said, I think that's the game I could possibly wear it when it's absolutely freezing down
out
there.
With 12 different guys in long sleeve jumpers. That could be one of the great moments for the footy club.
Would Tom Barrass wear one?
He'd be a 50-50 for mine.
Yeah.
I've got some guys that I know people who would wear them. Absolutely. I would wear them, so I'm not. This is not a bad thing, it's a good thing.
Sure.
Andrew Gaff, right at the top of the
100%,
table.
100%.
Lewis Jetta would have worn one.
I'm surprised he didn't get one over the line when he was here.
Correct.
So the reason I bring up Big Tom, he skipped the side for the very first time on the weekend. What type of leader do you think, or do you know, that Tom Barrass is around that group?
I don't know if there's footage over the top of this, but did you see him running out of the race?
Yeah.
The footage of Tom Barrass.
He left him behind.
You tell me if he looks like a leader or not. That was, you know what I'm at. That was exciting, like borderline something else. And so,
because Luke Shuey sort of comes out and then high fives everyone and waits for everyone to pass him. Tom was off.
Yeah,
he was doing his own thing.
Well, Tom's leading, mate. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying Luke's leading. That's Tom's way.
Right.
So that's I have spoken about this publicly before. I think Tom's the next captain of the footy club. I think it was the right decision to have Luke Shuey captain this year. I don't think Tom would have been ready this year, but I think a year under Luke as a clear vice captain and opportunities like this to lead the side, I think Tom will be the next captain of the footy club.
We spoke to him during the week about this momentous occasion of leading out the side for the first time.
Massive honour to represent the boys out there, and lost a few hours sleep trying to figure out my speech, but came out with a bit of energy, and I thought we had a good crack, so mate, it was good to get in the record books. Yeah, I suppose I had to hammer home our focuses, but I got a good piece of advice from Simo before the game, and that was just be a good defender, and I aimed to do that for the day, and thought I did for most of it, bar a couple, but it was one of those ones for us.
Look, you've heard from Tom, but I didn't answer your question on what sort of leader he is. He's a deep thinker. You can see that by the way that he speaks in the media. But what sort of leader he is? He leads by example, and it's not a do what I do. It's a do the right thing, and not be a man, but he's very big on values and morals and a strong leader. He's been a strong leader for a long time. And
Would you say that's similar to all of the past captains of the club
well,
in your time?
Everyone does it differently. I think Tom is here on those sorts of areas, but I think his maturity over the last 12 to 24 months has taken him from being a leader of people wanting to do what Tom does to Tom leading and everyone going, we'll do whatever you do, mate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's not too late, everyone, to catch a flight with the team, travel with the playing group on the charter flight. Scully, they are back. And the next away match is going to be against Port in round 6 in Adelaide, of course. Tickets are selling fast, so book one way or return, whatever you want to do with the boys. Prices include the match day ticket as well, so you don't have to go to the scalpers on the street. Thanks to the partners at Travel Sports Australia.
Do you get to sit next to you? You got a spare seat next to
I think you've got to pay a little bit more cash if you want to do that one. You've got to fork that one out. More details on the website. Let's talk about Gather Round, because there's a couple of weeks in Adelaide now for the boys.
Sort of.
Yes. What do you mean, sort of?
Well, they're coming back in between.
It's a couple of weeks, over there.
Back to back.
Yeah, yep. So let's talk about maybe the team or the opposition. So you had a host of changes. You had the likes of Cully. Luke Edwards returned for his first game in about a year.
Yep.
And then you've got Clark, West, a host of others I'm probably missing. Rotham, the sub.
Off.
Yes, Hoff as well. So what kind of you see them all playing again this week?
I saw some of the Waffle Eagles vision. Petrocelli played back there. I think he'd be, someone that could possibly come in. Zane True played well with high 20s, and Zave O'Neill's played footy this year already with West Coast. So, look, those three guys. I think there's definitely
Commentary wasn't bad either, just quietly.
Who was?
The commentary wasn't bad either.
Did you commentate, did you?
Of course I did. You have it on mute again.
Yeah,
did you?
absolutely.
Sweet.
Probably heard you for 5 seconds and turned it off.
Cool.
I don't think there's anyone else. So I do think they'll make changes, yeah. I think it'd be a good opportunity to keep blooding people through. And if there was players that played against Melbourne, this is what you didn't do well, go back and work on it. I think there's an opportunity there for sure.
Is Jinby taking Dangerfield? And who's playing on Jeremy Cameron?
Wow, hadn't thought about that. Jinby on Dangerfield. Yeah, he's just been exposed to some greats over the last few weeks, hasn't he? Petrarca and Oliver last week, and Dangerfield. But even Guthrie through the middle, he's a great player for Geelong. Yeah, put Jinby on him, no worries. Who takes Jeremy Cameron? I mean, he is just a superstar of the competition. I remember playing on Jeremy Cameron when I used to be able to play, and my aim with him was to be physical and to bash him and to. He wasn't a talker, so he couldn't get in his head mentally, but I used to try and be physical with him. And sometimes it would work because he hadn't matured. But you look at him now, I don't think he could bash Jeremy Cameron. He's too fast, he's too quick, he reacts too fast. Incredible player. He could kick 100 goals away he's going. He's averaging 4.5 goals a game this year. I think that's a decent pad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think Tom Barrass goes to him when he's deep. And when he's high, Josh Rotham's a decent match-up high.
Very nice. I like that one. Thoughts on Gather Round and maybe Perth next year? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to host a game down at Mandurah, down at Rushton Park. Look, I really like the concept. I know it's copped a bit of criticism in the AFL circles, but I like the concept. I mean, you're starting to see some of the marketing go out now, and Fox Footy and all this have got all their crew over there, and it's a real focus and meant to be a celebration on the game, right? So I think overall it's a great concept. Perth could definitely hold it. If Adelaide can do it, Perth can certainly do it.
Nice. What about this scenario late in the Demons-Eagles game? So the clock absolutely carked it.
Saw this.
And we had basically no one knowing from home what the time clock was at, how long there was to go in the game. Now this is what all fans inside the stadium are experiencing every week. Had very reminiscent vibes of 05, 06 grand finals with the Channel 10 count up clock or whatever you want to say.
5-minute warning, mate.
Yes.
And while we're on it, running hot and like running cold or ice cold, they were pretty good too.
Those. That's gold. So are you a fan of it? Would you like to see this be implemented throughout the broadcast and they change it and go back to the way it was?
I think in theory with a close game it's exciting, right? I think you mentioned the 2010 grand final.
Yeah, being in 2010, not knowing how much time was left in the drawn grand final was intense.
Yeah, and that's great, but not every game's a grand final and a close game. And so games like on the weekend with Melbourne West Coast, you probably just want to know how long's left because stop the bleeding a little bit.
Yeah.
I would be bringing back running hot before I bring back the count-up clock because I like that a lot.
All right, love that. So round 7, this is the next time we're going to be at home, Optus Stadium. It's a Saturday night game. It's going to be an absolute belter against the Blues. Tickets are on sale now through Ticketmaster, and it's also going to be the Food Bank match day as well. So calling on all fans, join us in helping to raise 1 million meals, doing it for the people that are doing it quite tough. So you'll be able to donate through the app, at the game on the night. You'll get more information as that comes to light. Are you working that game? What are you doing on the Saturday night?
Yep, I'll be working with Fox Footy that game. So
They flying you to Adelaide?
No.
Pretty valued member of Fox, are you, mate?
Oh, here we go. You should get the footage up where Kath Lochner forgot my name on the footage last week in the Derby.
What did she call you?
No one. Just forgot my name.
Sweet.
Yeah, genuine silence.
Love that. I love that. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks, Scully. Thank you to Jim Beam, of course, for another episode of Inside Swoop. Let's hope we get the 4 points. We'll see you next week.